You probably started out wanting to give your child the gift of 2 languages, but here you are wondering if maybe you're doing it wrong, maybe you started too early or too late, or maybe this is actually damaging your child's development. Hi, my name is Holly. I am a pediatric occupational therapist and a bilingual mom, and also the founder of Playful Pod, which is my play and child development membership community. Today we're going to be breaking down 3 facts about bilingualism and one powerful way that you can support your toddler's language development today. And make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can catch our Toddler Tip Tuesday videos all about raising toddlers and supporting their development. Before we dive into that, I did want to just let you know that this video is actually part of a series on language development for toddlers that we are running inside of Playful Pod next month. We are going to be getting crystal clear and consistent in supporting our toddlers' development through our masterclasses, live calls, monthly magazine, principles, play ideas, and reset challenge. So you don't want to miss that. Go to the link in my description box and come and check it out. Okay, so bilingualism, 3 things that you need to know. The first one is the one that you need to tell all the aunties that are giving you comments, and that is that bilingualism does not cause delay. This has been studied. This is not an opinion. This is the truth. Bilingualism does not cause delay in children's development of language. Does it mean that they will have exactly the same amount of words in 2 languages, like in each separate language, as other children have in their only one language? No. It does mean that their language will, like the actual amount of vocabulary that they have will be spread out between the 2 or 3 languages that they're learning. But if we count all of those up and look at milestones and averages, they're going to be the same. So every time you hear this, you can just rest assured that is not what the research says. Bilingualism does not cause speech and language delay in children. It does mean, though, that they're going to be functioning differently in different environments. So let's say my children, for example, our predominant language that we learn at home, that they were home with me before they started preschool, so the language that they learned was English, right? So when they go to preschool and their preschool is in Hebrew, of course they don't show up as like the most talkative people and the child that knows like every story off by heart, even though that's who they are. But in a Hebrew speaking environment, they're still learning. So their amount of interactions that they have and the amount that they speak isn't necessarily the same as when they're in an English speaking environment. It doesn't mean that they're delayed. It means that they're learning. The second fact about bilingualism that I want to dive into is that we should focus as parents on exposure and not necessarily what we're receiving back in terms of language. So how this happens is that we want our children to learn a language or 2 languages, and we kind of like force on them like that they haven't learned this second language enough because they're not speaking that back to you. As a parent, you don't necessarily need to know that they're speaking both languages equally or that like they already have a full vocabulary in their non-dominant language. We of course want to know that they're following developmental norms and milestones, but you don't need to have them speaking like in that second language full on to mean that they're absorbing the fact that you're speaking to them in 2 languages, right? What they're actually learning in these little years is not necessarily that they're, again, like functioning and speaking in both languages equally, but that in their mind and in their like sound bank, let's call it their sound bank, in their sound bank, they are holding sounds. So what happens often is because a parent sees that their child is not speaking very much in their non-dominant language, they just stop speaking it because they think like, oh, well, I'm wasting effort and they only like to speak back to me in English, so we're just going to only speak English and we'll drop that second language. Don't do that. Your child, whether they're speaking back to you in their non-dominant language or not, they are building up that sound bank, which means that when say in 3 years or 4 years, or even when they're like 10 years old and you go on a trip where they'll actually need that language, the language doesn't firstly sound foreign to them. Maybe they don't have a lot of practice with speaking the language, but in their sound bank in their mind, they already have the sounds. Every language holds a lot of different sounds with it. Like if I'm looking at us with English and with Hebrew, in Hebrew there's a lot more of like the it's a completely different sound to what you'd be using in English. if a child only hears those sounds when they've passed the age of 10 or as they're more growing, they'll always say them with like a slight accent. But if we're building up that sound bank when they're little, they'll be able to speak in that non-dominant language with less of an accent. The third point is that there is no one right way, right? It doesn't have to be that one parent speaks only one language and the other parent only speaks the other language. You could absolutely do it like that. You could also do that in certain situations you speak the non-dominant language. You could do it that both parents speak a mix of both languages. There's not one way that has been found to be like the creme de la creme. It's about what works for you and works for your family, and it's something that you can consistently be doing and something that won't just fall by the wayside as a nice idea. So whatever you feel like you can be consistently putting into practice, that's the way to go forward in terms of embracing bilingualism in your home. And let's wrap this up with one big tip. So if you walk away with one thing from this video today, firstly, let it be confidence in the fact that speaking two languages to your children is such a good thing, and it really is a gift that you're giving them. And the second one is that children learn language through functioning in language and not through flashcards. We so easily, especially in a second language, want to whip out those flashcards and teach them dog, cat, mirror, all these like nouns, these words. But how do children actually use language? They use it to communicate. They function within it. They make friends. They ask questions. They interact around the things that are interesting to them or the things that are present. So instead of trying to focus in on just like specific vocabulary, try to focus the language learning on functioning within that language. Now, if you want to understand more about how to do that, come and join us within Playful Pod for this month. As I said, we are going to be breaking down language development into a way that, again, it's not going to be adding to your to-do list. It's just going to become part of your flow, and you're going to be seeing the results in your child's development. So I'd love to have you join us. You can find the link in the description box below.